their way to their seats, or if you haven't gotten lunch, please do so now. We're going to get started in a few minutes. Good afternoon. I'm from First Midwest Bank, and I'd like to welcome you to today's luncheon. If I could remind everyone to please silence their cell phones at this time. We'd like to thank Dynasty for hosting this fabulous lunch today. Can we give them a round of applause? We'd also like to thank our sponsors for today, American Precision Services, First Midwest Bank, and Ymca. I'd also like to thank our ambassadors for helping today. Susan Higgins from First Financial Bank, Jill Kidd from Girls on the Run, Jill O'Comer from Hospice of Calumet, Ken Comiak from Weicker Realtors, Crystal Acante from Horizon Bank, Michelle Murday from Enviro Forensics, and Arca Torres from Heart to Heart. Thank you. We do have 2 door prizes today, and our winners are Heather Gray from the City of Hammond and Ron Lubis from LNS Electrical Contractors. Our gifts donated today are from Hospice of Calumet and from Horizon Bank. You can pick up your gifts on your way out. Thank you to the Horizon and Hospice for donating those gifts. And on behalf of First Midwest and the Lakeshore Chamber, we're so excited to be here today to hear from the Mayor of Hammond on what has gone on in 2018 and then what is to come in 2019. So without further ado, I will turn it over to Dave Ryan.
Great job on both days. Welcome everybody. Thank you all for coming. And thank all the department heads particularly for coming. It's nice to see you on a cold day. Right, Rich? Welcome to the coldest lakeshore luncheon in history. Minus 17 degrees this morning. By the time you go to your car, which hopefully it won't be frozen, it will be fine. It's warmed up to 25 degrees already. Introducing the young mayor for 14 years, you have to dig up some new topics. Mayor McDermott has a few. His last term as mayor of the largest city in Lake County was number 4, and it was unprecedented. Now in 2019, Mayor Tom is running for his 5th term in office, and he has set the bar pretty high for any future challenges. Patrick, let that be a lesson to you. You're in line. Patrick McDermott is here also. Give him a hand. You know the mayor was born in California, graduated from Apple Valley High School, served 6 years in the Navy, not 6 terms. Although it might have sit in a nuclear submarine, it might have seemed like 6 terms. He attended Purdue, graduated from Notre Dame Law School, and became mayor of Hammond in 2004. The mayor shared shots with Hillary Clinton, fought Rudy Clay, and won the Democratic Party chairman's position. Coached the baseball team at Little League, Babe Ruth, and also at the Purdue Northwest, all while running the largest city in Lake County. His wife, Marissa, is a Lake County Circuit Court judge. Another impressive victory, Marissa. Big hand for Marissa. And the McDermotts have 4 children, one of which graduated from my favorite university, IU, and now teaches at the Hammond Academy of Science and Technology. Special thanks to, once again, to the department heads. I know that you probably have better things to do on the day. And you had 2-3 days this week. And I'd like to welcome the longest running Hammond mayor of all time, Mayor Tom McDermott Jr.
special occasion, I took notes and prepared for this speech. So I'd like to thank the people that helped make my administration work. First off, starting with the department heads and the employees at the city of Hammond. Can you all please stand up? Peace guys. Give a big round of applause, please. To make it work. All the kudos I get as mayor. These people are out there working hard to make me look good, so I appreciate them being here. When they signed up for this, they thought they were getting 3 hours away from the office. Suckers. Now they're like, well, I have to go now, right? We have the day off. So anyway, thank you very much for coming out. I'd like to also thank the Hammond City Council members in attendance, starting with Council President Robert Markovich. Thank you very much, Councilman Markovich. Councilman at Large Dan Spitali. Thank you very much, Councilman. Councilwoman at Large Janet Videz. Thank you very much, Councilwoman. First District Councilman Mark Kalwinski. Thank you very much, Councilman. I don't believe he's here, but Second District Councilman Pete Torres. I wanted to say thanks to him as well. Hammond's Third District Councilman Anthony Hicks. Thank you very much, Councilman. Hammond's Fourth District Councilman Bill Emerson. Hammond's Fifth District Councilman Dave Warpool. Hammond's Sixth District Councilman Scott Rakos. Hammond City Clerk Robert Golish. I'd like to also thank the former Mayor Hammond, Mayor Thomas McDermott Sr. I stress the senior part. Thank you very much, Dad. I guess the future Mayor Hammond, Patrick McDermott. Good to see you here, Patrick. And of course, my former speechwriter, then she got a better job and left me as a speechwriter. She's now Lake County Circuit Court Judge, Marissa McDermott. Thank you very much for coming. We used to, when I did State of the Cities before, it's a painful process. You have to write if you're going to give a half-hour speech, and usually we would go a little bit more, it would take a month of back and forth between Marissa and me, the department heads, everybody puts in input, and then you finally come up with that final version, you go out, and then I sit there and read, and everybody's eyes glaze over about 2 minutes into the speech. Something we work so hard with, and then people would say, well, Mayor, you're doing it for posterity. You know, because we do file it, we record it, so that, 100 years from now, somebody could read my speech that I put people to sleep reading. But now, Dave Ryan offered a couple years ago to do what I call the Impromptu State of the City speech. So we're doing the Impromptu State of the City speech. It's an open format. Dave and I talked for about a half hour the other day, and we agreed to do it live on Go Hammond TV, which is back there, and Go Hammond TV. So if you want to watch it again, all you have to do is go home, turn on your computer and watch it. Go Hammond TV is the website, gohammond.tv. We did that within the first, when I took over as mayor, if you wanted to watch stuff like this, you had to do it on access cable. If you had Dish, you couldn't watch these things. If you had the wrong kind of cable system, you couldn't watch these things. So what would happen is, about a third of your city was lucky enough to be able to watch public meetings and stuff like that. And if you were part of the 2/3 that had Dish or another cable system, you're sort of screwed. You couldn't watch stuff like this. So we always try to wrap our heads around that. Can we get all cable companies to agree to provide public access? Or can we provide an alternative? And that's what we started doing a few years back. We created Go Hammond TV, and we started putting meetings on there, archiving it on the web, and then we went to live broadcasts, as we're doing right now. And typically in live broadcasts, we'll get sometimes 150 people watching live, watching a city council meeting, plus the members of the audience, and then it's archived for future use. So I think we found a way around the cable company's insistence on not allowing public access cable with Go Hammond TV. So I want to say thanks to them for being there as well. So you can give them a big round of applause. All right, let's jump in. How you going, Dave?
You ready, Mayor?
Sure, I'm ready.
What we'd like to do is talk a little bit about what's going on in the city of Hammond and start with some economic development projects. I see that the economic development team is here. Right?
Yeah, they are. Yeah. The economic development team is led by Africa Tarver. Africa, where are you? Hi, Africa. She's the head of planning development. And then I have Ann Anderson, who is also the head of economic development. So thank you very much. I'm in good hands. Juan Moreno is also part of the team, and I know Juan's over here somewhere. How's it going, Juan? Nice to see you, sir. So, if you stump me, which is not that hard to do, I got people right here that can bail me out. So.
Well, let's start with what's going on the lake. And State Line Energy, which used to be one of your largest taxpayers, was closed. torn down,
Mhm.
and, now they're looking.
It was a large property tax there in Hampton.
Right.
It was assessed at about $100 million, if I remember, right, Kevin?
Wow.
Thank you. It was in that ballpark. $100 million comes off the tax roll. And we knew a few years before it was coming off, but then you start doing the calculations on how much $100 million loss of, assessed value is gonna hurt the average taxpayer. And not only that, the hundreds of questions I'm gonna be asked until I figure out what's gonna replace the former state line generator. So to say I was not stressed about that is an understatement.
So what's taking the place of, state line energy?
Well, it's interesting because obviously it was a high profile piece of property. Most people that saw it would think that it was located in Illinois. It gives you, because you're coming in on the other side of the bridge, most people think it's Illinois, but it's Hampton. It's literally the northwest corner of the state. So we decided to, I remember Ann Anderson comes to my office one day, and this is when Amazon was talking about HQ2, and they're gonna relocate to another lucky city in the country, and we had basically a nationwide sweepstakes on who was going to, get HQ2. And quite frankly, I never thought that we would be chosen. Of course, you hope, I'd go to bed at night and say, man, can you imagine if they chose Hammond, how that would dramatically change our city? But we offered that piece of property up, and also, other neighboring communities did as well. And like I said, Ann at the time, she said, do you think we should do this? I said, yeah, I don't want to be the only mayor that doesn't put in for HQ2. We want the residents to think we're trying, even though we don't think our chances are great. You gotta go for it, right? So Ann locked herself into her cubby for probably 2 weeks and came up with this report, and it was great. And it looked great, and we submitted it, and we didn't get chosen. However, interestingly enough, a gentleman named Tom Dockets that grew up in the region, has region ties, now lives in Carmel, he's an attorney. He has a lot of contacts with the governor's office, he has a lot of contacts with people that build these data centers, and he approached a local guy that we also do business with named Matt Reardon, and they approached our economic development team and my chief of staff, Bill Talon, and basically dozens and dozens of other department heads that got involved in this project that was estimated to be, possibly worth up to a couple $100 million when it's all said and done, the data center project. So that's what you're talking about, right, Dave?
Right.
It's hard for me to comprehend, but when you look at all these videos and when you look at all the stuff going on the internet and all the video we're using and all the Netflixes of the world, the Facebooks and Go Hammond TVs of the world, all this has to be stored someplace. And that's what these data centers are all about. And, they were looking in the Chicago area to locate, quite frankly, because everybody wants to be in Chicago. But then you start doing the math and you look at this northwest corner of the state that's sitting there, prime real estate available. You got the water. I mean, they needed abundant supplies of water to cool their massive computers. Well, it's right there, surrounding you, right? They need quick access to the internet. You got the information superhighway going right by this place. You got to have reliable electrical service. The Midwest Power Grid has a substation located there. We're literally the best location they could choose, and they chose us. And it took a lot of hard work and ups and downs and big numbers, and then the state of Indiana had to be involved, and I would be remiss if I did not thank our governor, Governor Eric Holcomb, for stepping forward and working with us to help us get this project done. And as it all turns out, we all go in, basically, as it all worked out, Hammond did about 25%, the state of Indiana did about 25%, and the investors are doing about the other 50%. And it's a partnership that I think is going to reap huge dividends for our city. And it's exciting because it's a whole new industry that's never located in Hampton before. So we did the groundbreaking. They're in the process right now of doing the final approvals, and we'll be moving forward real quick. Very exciting project.
There's also, some people at table 4 that are pretty excited about that project. Let's go.
Yes, sir.
They use a lot of power.
I did. I mean, NIPSCO helped us a lot with that. And, obviously this is a big user of electricity. And like I said, this is very, very reliable electric service in that particular quarter. So we're lucky. We're really lucky. Hammond's, what's funny is a lot of times we complain about Chicago. And a lot of times people in Chicago complain about us. But we complain about Chicago and, some of the negatives that come from Chicago to a small city like Hammond. But I tell you what, you can't beat our location. when it comes to things like this, you know. They're looking at making a big investment, and the property taxes in downtown Chicago where they wanted to put it would have killed them. And then they look over here, and we have a max 3% they're gonna pay on their property taxes. And you got cheap water, and I know how much Chicago water costs, because we compete against them in the water company. So the fact is, it just made a lot of sense for these people to locate here, and we still have a lot of land available. How much land do we have left available there, you know?
A lot.
Two-thirds of the land is left. 25 acres left. 25 acres left. And I tell you what, there's a lot of people that like data centers. So just because this particular group go one doesn't mean that another can't come. And by the way, that doesn't mean that the city of Hammond can't get involved even more in the Illinois water market than we already are. And maybe we build a second water plant and we start competing with them bare knuckles. And we start making a bigger impact on the south side of Chicago with the water market. Because we're the low-cost alternative. And it's the same water. And I don't think Chicago water prices are going down. I think they're going up, and we're sitting pretty. And we can make a big impact if we start thinking bigger. A lot of people, all due respect to the gaming industry, which I love, and I partner with, and I work with. Okay? Danny and I know you're here, and Horseshoe Team, where are you, Dan? Can you give a warm welcome for Danny and the Horseshoe Team? Great partnership with the city of Hammond, and then they're doing great things with Horseshoe, and we're blessed to have them in Hammond. And the gaming revenue has been a godsend for our city, and we've done great things with it. However, I would like to see the day where water surpasses gaming, where we're seeing more water revenue come to our city than gaming revenue. I tell you, you know, I would like our prospects if that happened, and I think it can happen. We just got to think differently. So I appreciate it. So, and I know we're going to talk about gaming, so I'm not going to stop talking about Horseshoe and what a great partner they've been. If it wasn't for Horseshoe, Hammond wouldn't have the College Bound Scholarship Program. All right, we've had the Hammond's College Bound Scholarship Program for 13 years. Thank you. The program right now runs about $4 million plus annually. Hammond, in 13 years of this program, has spent close to $50 million on college scholarships. It's incredible. I got introduced in Indianapolis last week, and I tell you, 100 years from now, 50 years from now, when Tom McDermott, and I'm not going to be mayor that long, but when I'm long gone, okay? Let's just start off and say that. When I'm long gone, people are going to talk about the College Bound Scholarship. That's what I'm going to be known for. So I get introduced in Indianapolis a couple weeks ago. And they introduced me, and they were talking like my biggest achievement as mayor was the pavilion. And I got introduced, and I was like, wow. We got to do a better job marketing ourselves. If they're thinking that that's our biggest achievement, it's a wonderful achievement. I love the pavilion. But the College Bound Scholarship changed lives. Let me give you an idea. Right now we have almost 600 kids in the College Bound Scholarship, junior, senior, sophomore, freshman, okay? The 2014 class, we had 174 people start the program, 68% of them finished. I would bore you if I gave you the statistics of every single year, but let me just tell you, we've changed thousands of families in Hammond. And if there's anything that I'm going to be known for, and the city council is going to be known for, and the city of Hammond is going to be known for, it's that scholarship. And it would not be possible without great partnerships with our friends and our neighbors, Horseshoe Casino. So I just again want to say thank you very much to Dan Nita and his team. Thank you very much. That was one I prepared.
I know you stole that.
You thought that was impromptu.
I was all ready to go. That's all my numbers. Let's talk a little community development.
Sure.
Speaking of pavilion, what you're most famous for? The pavilion in North Hammond, which is great, by the way.
Thank you, I agree.
You've had all kinds of different genres of music and everything, symphony, rap music, you name it.
Steve Miller Band played there.
Steve Miller Band.
Were you there?
I was in the band. But here's the question. It continues to grow. Every year they're finding improvements to the Wolf Lake Pavilion area.
Yeah.
You know, for
We did the bowl last year in Ymca.
Yeah.
That was big. I don't know how many people have had a chance to see it yet, but we're real close to it. If you haven't seen it, take a drive a couple miles north. Let's see what we've done up there. We made a concert venue. And I tell you, you could see, if I had my druthers, you could see one little part that I'd like to encompass, you know, fill in, but we sort of need to relocate Calumet Avenue. It's a bigger project we can talk about right now. But we could have the type of pavilion out there that draws acts like the Ravinia does on the north side of Chicago. They have Steely Dan play out there. They have great bands play out there. And we have basically the same type of venue. In fact, I think ours is better because there's seats in the Ravinia. You can't even see the acts. You're just out there having a picnic, listening to music. You have a good seat in every place in our venue. So I tell you, think bigger, Hammond. think bigger. That's what we try to do every single day, is think bigger. And so,
Well, it's grown very nicely, you've done a great job.
thanks, guys.
Lost March, you now have new housing popping up adjacent to Lost March.
Yep.
It's a great addition to that property and surrounding neighborhood. Can you tell us a little bit about this residential development?
Okay, well, first off, the name of the parkway where those houses are located is a happy story. Before I get into this, Mylon Kuzinski, nice to see you, Mylon, from Hampton Port Authority. How's it going, Mylon? I had a crazy idea. I went up to Mylon, and Mayor Delo and I, obviously in 2003 we ran against each other. You don't love each other when you're running against each other. It's not the way it works. I think we saw that in the last presidential election. But over the years, Mayor Delo and I have become closer and respectful of each other. We talked together. We had lunch together a couple times, and I always appreciated what he did for our city. In particular, building that golf course, which is one of the main reasons he lost his job. I can tell you firsthand because I was the one beating him up over it, okay? But over the years, I was like, I really want to do something nice for the former mayor. And I remember we named a street after my father up at the Hampton Marina, McDermott Boulevard. I call it McDermott Boulevard, but it's like you take a hard right turn right off the Marina Drive, and there's McDermott Boulevard, and it pulls you right into the Hampton Marina. And I thought, we got to do something like this for the former mayor, Dwayne Delo, as well. So we built Delo Parkway out there. And then we decided to put 6 lots, right? 6 lots up for bid. And we didn't know what we were going to get. It would have been embarrassing if nobody showed up for bidding, right? So we show up, and they have the bidding process. And to see people competing against each other to buy a lot in the city of Hammond was really one of those days I'll never forget. And a couple of those lots got really high, and we were like, wow, like high-fiving each other. It's Hammond. We put lots up for sale, and people are trying to outbid each other to get a lot in our city. I tell you, there's little things like that. The funny thing is I've been mayor a long time, okay? And I remember a few days specifically, and it's silly stuff. You would say, when you open the sportsplex, it has to be the best day of your life. It was a great day. But I remember one day when I was out at the baseball field. When I took over as mayor, this school had just moved out, Riley School, and there was an empty school and no plan. The school city didn't have plans for it. And over the next few years, we bought the school, demolished the school, and built a Little League complex on it. It's the Optimus Little League complex. Well, it's not Little League, it's Optimus Tower, but that doesn't matter. I remember one day I was out there, and there was probably 400 or 500 people at the park. Kids playing baseball, kids playing, getting ready to play baseball, long line, kids in the, running around all over in the playground and all that. I remember sitting there going, wow, like that is so awesome. This was an empty school when I took over as mayor. Now look at this place. Nobody's even with me. It was just like one of those moments you're like, good job, Tom. That's why you do it. That's why you do it, right? You don't do it for the glory, you don't do it for the love, because there's not a lot of glory and love in this job. But I tell you what, when you can actually make a difference, like when I'm dead and gone, people are going to be playing baseball on that field. That's a cool feeling. So, anyway, what were we talking about, Dave?
I'm not sure. Yeah.
Rambling here.
Let's go back to economic development.
Sure.
You had a nice company on 165th Street that was going to move out of Hampton.
That was a good story.
Yeah, that's a great story. I think that's jobs, you doubled, investment and so forth.
So we're talking about Lear Seating.
Yeah, let's talk.
Let's talk about Lear Seating. This is one of those companies that was so wildly successful that the building they were located on 165th was too small for them. And they'd go to 3 shifts and it was still too small for them. And then they're like, Mayor, we gotta move. And something scary happened. I do a lot of work out in Portage. It's an organization called NERC. All your local elected officials are part of NERC. I love it. It's like the United Nations of Northwest Indiana governments. I go every meeting, I love it. I'm a dork though, I'm a kind of big dork. So like for that, it's like really cool for me. But after I leave a NERC meeting one day, I drive across the street to the Starbucks over there, and then I decide to drive through their commercial development, just check out what types of businesses are in there. And I drove by, and I see a Lear sign, and I'm like, and I drove by, it was this bustling Lear plant. The Lear in Hampton is doing so well that they opened a satellite ranch in Portage. And I'm like, I have seen this movie before. Start leaving. What am I going to say to the residents? This is a huge Hammond job generator. This is a huge company. And it would be a major blow to Hammond residents' psyche if Lear packed up and left. And I'm dreading this. This is why being mayor is hard. For like a couple years. I'm like, what am I going to say to the residents? How am I going to respond to this? Like, we don't have a site big enough to keep Lear in the city of Hammond. And it was about a couple-year process where it was not looking good. And then one day they pitched a location to us, right across the street from the Chicago train station. They said, we're interested in this piece of property. And it didn't seem to me like it was gonna work because that property was very, very industrial. Very industrial. And one thing led to another. We ended up inking a deal with Lear to stay in the city of Hammond. And it's a great story because they're literally, the plant is built, it's not open yet, all right? They're still operating on 165th, but you could tell they're getting close to, a lot of people think that's East Chicago, but it's literally the border between Hammond and East Chicago, so.
Third district of the city of Hammond, Mayor.
Thank you, Councilman Higgs. That is the 3rd district of the city of Hammond. I want to remind everybody, right across the street from the East Chicago train station. And so it's a great project. And the great part is this. So now Lear's going to bounce out of their 165th location and move into the new location. They're going to bring the residents or the workers from Portage back into the main plant, which makes me happy. No offense to Portage, I love Portage. But I do want to see those residents come back to the city, those jobs come back to the city, and then they're leaving an open factory on 165th, which we feel real good about. Right, Ann? We feel real good about this. We can't say anything official yet, even me, but we're feeling real good about that project. So anyway, it's a happy story for us.
Hey, and how many jobs at Lear will they, you know? Yeah.
We have almost 600 and
Wow, 600.
so we'll have almost 900.
That's amazing. Good for you. Thanks, Amy. That's great.
Good job.
Okay, Mayor, you almost took one more question from me.
Sure.
Carson's decided to leave town.
Yeah, but it's said leave all towns there.
Well, not really.
Don't be sticking that on Hammond,
Carson's is no longer going to work.
Chapter 11.
And Woodmar's been going downhill and yada, yada, yada. Hammond Sportsplex.
Yeah. Yeah, beautiful.
Phil Talon started talking about this. We're going to have 95 basketball courts, 1,000 soccer.
Is that what Phil said?
Yeah.
He has a tendency to exaggerate.
What's the deal on the Hammond Sportsplex?
Hammond Sportsplex was a plan. I remember exactly where I was in this United States of America when we came up with this. We were in an RV heading back from a convention, basically. I took a lot of my supporters, and we were coming back talking about, we're on vacation, mind you, talking about what we're going to do about the Woodmar Mall situation. What are we going to do? Carson still at this point hasn't declared that they're going to file for bankruptcy, and we came up with this concept. I think it started off as a soccer complex, remember? It was a basketball all the time, and then it morphed into soccer and basketball, and then of course, how are we going to pay for it? And then we got to deal with our city controller Heather, who really watches the checkbook very closely. And then we tapped into the Awana Miller, where I Awana Community Development, because we were being so frugal with our money. We had saved up almost $10 million in something called a Section 108 loan from the federal government, which is federal money to pay for a project that would help the community. So Awana championed our cause for this, sportsplex with HUD and got it approved. So we built this $18 million complex. Half of it was paid for with feds and federal government money, HUD money, and the other half was paid for with TIP money. Right? The great thing about this is I think it's the answer for that area. We need to start redeveloping that area. The Carson Prairie would do fine on its own, but it wasn't really generating economic development outside of Carson itself. I think the sportsplex is going to drive a lot of economic development in that area. We had a pretty good idea it was going to be successful before we even opened the doors. When Jim, the guy that runs the complex, came up and said, Mayor, we are sold out every weekend through June. We hadn't even opened our door yet. We had already had commitments from major organizations through June. Phil, what's that one? Can I announce that?
Yeah.
The Under Armour tournament is coming. What is that one? Did you say?
May 18th and 19th.
What is it? Did you describe it?
Sure. It's the Under Armour tournament where you're going to have high school kids from all over the Midwest and probably even beyond that.
That was pretty loud. I think they can hear me. The key to this tournament is that when you have a group like a shoe company that's running tournaments, they typically won't go to newer facilities like this because you got to prove yourself first. But they flew in, saw our facility, said this is perfect for what we're looking for. And I think it took us probably about 3 weeks and we inked it. And it's a big deal because once you get one of these larger tournaments in here, Other folks are going to be coming here from other groups or other organizations that are also looking for facilities, and it's just going to be like a domino effect. So it's a huge success for us. We're very excited about that tournament.
Thanks, Bill. If I were an entrepreneur looking to relocate some type of restaurant anywhere, especially in Hammond, but anywhere, I tell you, stack up your numbers. I see, it's funny, I was talking to a friend of mine from Crown Point named Dave Uran. He's a great mayor down there, good friend of mine, and him and I compete with each other a lot with projects, and it's a great city to compete against because Crown Point's beautiful, and Dave's a great mayor. And Dave told me what to watch out for. He said, Mayor, when you open this sportsplex, you're going to notice one thing that's different. I said, what's that, Mayor? And he said, you're going to see kids wearing sports uniforms a lot more often. Just, you're not used to seeing that. And I went into Shoops one day, and I saw literally a whole basketball team, and probably half of another basketball team in there. And I was over at the wheel another day, and I saw a bunch of kids eating breakfast at the wheel, getting ready to go to their games. And I tell you, I know that the organization at Sportsplex has made deals with the local restaurants so that they can bring the food right in. I tell you, I think this is the answer. I think that it's possible to put a hotel where the former Carson Prairie Scott is, and I think it'll be successful there. Besides the 8094 traffic, where else would you want to stay if you had a sportsplex? You know, I wanted to stay right next to the sportsplex, so I didn't even have to drive anywhere. So we're real excited about this project. I think it's the answer. We're sort of hoping it's the answer because we bet a lot of money on it, right? And I think it's going to help rejuvenate that section of our city, which needs to be rejuvenated. So, thank you.
The mayor said in that section of town, the YMCA.
Yeah.
It's undertaking a big project.
Yeah.
Can you talk about that?
It's a $3 million project with the Hampton Y. I partnered up with the Dean White family on that. It was the YMCA raised 1/3 of the money, and I know my father and mother Lynette had a lot to do with raising that 1/3 of the money. The other 1/3 was donated by the city of Hammond, which was around $1 million, if I remember correctly, and the other third of the money was donated by the Dean White Foundation, which was about $1 million. So that $3 million, and this is the thing about the Sportsplex versus the Y. Are they competing? No, not really. The Sportsplex is catering to regional events, you know, Chicagoland area events. You're going to see a lot of teams from Crown Point in there. You're going to see teams from Chicago in there. You're going to see teams from, and then the Hammond YMCA, that's where Hammond works out. I tell you, I know hundreds of people that work out there regularly, and I worked out there a few times. I have a home gym, and as you can tell, I'm ripped, so whatever I'm doing, just keep it going. I know, so I don't want to change my routine, okay? But I tell you, the thing about the Hammond Y is when you go in there to work out, there's a window in the place. And I need to see things when I'm working out. I got ADD, man. I can't just sit there and look at a wall while I'm working out. And I tell you, that's the exciting thing about what they're doing at the Y right now is they're making that workout room state of the art. It's going to be new. It badly needed a facelift. And I'm excited that the city of Hammond's part of that because the Sportsplex is not in competition with the Y. They're working with each other. When Hammond goes to work out, they go to the Y. When Hammond wants to join a travel team and play athletic events, you go to the Sportsplex. So thank you very much. Great question, Dave.
How about let's go over it a little bit, 8094.
Sure.
And what used to be kind of a nightmarish issue over there. When you first came in,
Yeah.
it was kind of a hot button.
Oh, I know what you're talking about.
We were going to tear down a
River
few
Park
apartments and never mind
Yeah.
up in Arnold.
Did you ever live there?
I lived it.
I heard back in the 70s it was real nice. I can see a young Dave Ryan kick back at the pool. Back in the...
I still live it. Down by the river. Anyway, where was I? You have developed that amazingly, how it's
That
developed.
picture of you kicked back by the pool sort of threw everybody off. I saw a couple people drop their forks.
Well, you said you were ribbed and everything, I was thinking myself.
I hide it well, Dave.
So you have 4 outlots remaining. Tell us what's there now.
Thanks.
And how did that all come about?
Well, it came about because the community demanded it. It was another one of those issues I ran on in 2003. It was a big issue for me is in Hessville, I said, I will buy the River Park apartments and close them down. And I was a 32, 33-year-old young guy that didn't realize how complex that issue was going to be. So when I was elected, being a man of my word, I started moving forward with buying the River Park apartments, tearing them down. I remember exactly how much it cost. I think the apartments themselves were $12.5 million, and then we had lawsuits between the city of Hammond and River Park Apartments that added up. That was a few million, $3.5 million if I remember correctly. Town of Highlands owed us a couple million, we used that. We had to come up with a couple million more for demolition, came up with that. And then, of course, we found out that there was land problems, we had to clean up all that. We were over $20 million into this project, all right? But we did, and people were happy with me. So we had, after all this time, 35 acres, is that about right, Phil?
I think it was more like 26.
26 acres of prime real estate right off the highway, flat, ready to go. And then what happened? The recession hit. 2008, 2009, 2010, 2011, I'm out there hanging on a vine, trying to explain to Hampton residents why it was a good idea. It's just not developing now because of the economy, and of course I had to fight the dumbest move ever. McDermott likes to spend money, doesn't have a plan, blah, blah, blah. So finally, when we got BW3s to locate there, I was a happy person. We were working with a hotel developer for a long time, but BW3s was huge for us. And then we had the Hampton Inn. There was the slowest Hampton Inn ever to get put in and built, but it finally got built, and then it started filling up. And then they started building the second hotel there, and then the commercial building started building up. And then the commercial building was empty for so long, and then all of a sudden a couple law firms started to move in. In fact, my first job out of law school, I was brand new, just walked out of law school. My wife and I moved back to the region, and I go in for an interview with Icorn & Icorn, who I think is a great firm in Northwest Indiana. In particular, this gentleman who walked in a couple seconds ago, Dave Jensen. How's it going, Dave? Like to embarrass Dave. Hi, Dave. He hired me on the spot. You know, he was totally impressed, obviously. But no, I worked with Icorn for a couple years, and then went off to run for office. And when I came back as mayor, I brought in Icorn & Icorn, and I'm real happy because Icorn & Icorn is now they're tenants in that brand new building over there. It's a great development. So they're building a second commercial building that it's a twin to the first one. And they're also developing a few more outlets with restaurants out there. I haven't heard much about what type of restaurants we're looking at this point, but I do know that the second commercial building is framed up, windows up, all that, and it's just a matter of time before they start leasing out. So it's a great development. Makes me happy.
It's a wonderful development.
Thank you.
Gene Shepherd's son, you proclaimed that you graduated from Purdue University.
Sir.
Purdue Calumet at the time.
Sir.
Now Purdue Northwest.
Northwest.
You have a great partnership with Purdue, it seems like, because of what you've done with Gene Shepherd in the area around it. Plus now you're adding ice arena.
Yeah.
Yeah. Tell us about that.
Sure. Hey, Phil, do you mind talking about the ice rink project? Why don't you come over here? I'll throw you my microphone. All right.
Sure, Phil, wait.
All right.
So,
This is a special
you
microphone.
can't touch it, Mike.
This is a special one. This sets the mayor on it.
You wearing the wrong thing.
Phil is a big reason why that ice rink located in Hammond. He was selling it to me for a long time, and sometimes I get sold stuff and I don't believe it until I actually start to see it move forward. This is one of those projects I personally didn't think was going to happen and was pleasantly surprised. So Phil, could you talk a little bit about the ice rink?
Sure. For those of you that haven't driven by there, the ice rink is located right off of 8094 in Kennedy at the old Hammond FOP site. Is how a lot of people know that area. This is a project, I think it's important to know, that this is a project they tried to locate in probably 4 different cities in Northwest Indiana. And I'm not picking on any of the other cities where it didn't get done, but they came to Hammond, and typically we can get very proactive and creative on trying to figure out ways to get projects done. And I think that's part of the reason we landed it. This is a approximately $7.5 million facility. It's going to have 2 sheets of ice. It's also going to have a what you call like a jump zone, kind of like the sky zone they have in Cherville. And since we've announced and they started construction on this project, I don't want to give too much away. I don't know if Purdue is here, but Chancellor Keon has sat down with the owners of the rink, because it's not a public rink. It is owned by a private group, and they are now going to start a hockey team at Purdue Northwest. So we are very excited about that.
I think you're safe for enough. I think the back of Purdue Northwest athletic director, and he clapped when you said that. Rick Costello, how's it going, Rick? Nice to see you, sir. So I was, if Phil said that and Rick didn't clap, I would know maybe stepped over the line. So anyway, thanks. Excited. Purdue Northwest is doing a great job for the community, and its athletic teams are getting better, which is great. It's great to see it. I tell you what, one of the great things about our partnership with Purdue is they work out at the Sportsplex during the winter. They base out of Gallingport during the spring and the fall when they're doing outdoor. And we've had a lot of communications about even bigger role between Purdue Athletics and the city of Hammond. But that goes without even pointing out that Chancellor Keon, who is a Hammond resident, also gets involved and buys buildings throughout the city. And when Purdue buys a building, it gets better. Okay? For instance, the old box office video that used to be, I call it box office video, but there's probably something different right off 171st and the Boulevard. The Purdue bought it to put a counseling center there. It's night and day. They buy a building, and it's night and day what they do with it. I tell you, I'm a huge fan of what Purdue Northwest is doing for the region, and for Hammond in particular. That's why whenever they ask me for help, I like to consider myself a good mayor, and when you have good corporate neighbors like the Horseshoes of the world, and like Purdue Northwest of the world, that say, I need your help, mayor, I'm right there. And I tell you, I know it's good for business, and having a D2 college in our city is definitely good for business. So thanks to Rick and what Purdue Northwest does for our city. Thank you, man. Located in the Hammond Fifth District. Right, Councilor Warple? All right. Want to talk some casino gaming?
No,
I'm
not yet.
prompting you.
Not yet.
Okay.
I'll handle it, Mike. You handle it, Scott.
How those folks doing this year?
Oh, that's right. New Hammond High.
Yes, sir.
2 referendums,
Uh-huh.
180 million passed.
Yep.
And are there any plans, well, I could ask, I'll put you on the spot.
Sure.
To consolidate any of these schools now that the money is there to build a new high school?
Good question.
And there's also money for the other, I don't know what the other money for. Me,
Well,
you.
operating.
Operating.
You know, the thing is, I'm gonna let you all in on a secret, all right? There isn't enough money in government to operate the way you're used to seeing government operate, okay? And I know that there's gonna be conservative people in the room that say, hell yeah, finally, right? But I tell you, you're gonna see you're gonna see government start to go out of business in Indiana. In maybe even in Lake County, or in St. Joseph County, where the full implementation of tax caps are kicking in. But it's not gonna be Hammond. I'll tell you that right now. That was an operating referendum and a capital referendum for the school city Hammond, and the Hammond taxpayers approved both. And I'm happy that they did that. As the mayor, I'm happy. I'm happy for the schools. As a parent, I'm happy for the children in the Hammond school system. As a business owner, that owns a commercial building and saw the tax increase kick in, it sucked. I'm not gonna deny that. It was a couple thousand for the building that Marissa and I own. Couple $1,000 extra, and I know why it's there, and I voted for it, and I supported it, and I paid it, and I was grumbling a little bit, but I paid it, and next year, we're gonna get a tax break, because the tax caps kick all the way in. And if you're a homeowner next year, you're gonna get 1/3 off of your property taxes. It's in the Constitution. That's happening next year, and that's great for you. And that's great for landlords. They can have 2% tax kick in next year. And that's great for the businesses that have 3% tax kick in next year. Everybody gets a break. That's awesome. It stinks for government though. Because police officers and firemen and the city employees get a wage and they don't expect to get pay cuts. In fact, they usually ask for pay raises. Okay? And you have to have enough money to pay the bills. And we do in here. Okay? I'm not sure the financial status of the Hammond school system, but I'm sure that the referendum helped them tremendously. All right? But they are definitely going to have to cut. There's no doubt. And I'm not in charge of the school city. I talk to them and I support them because I want us to have a successful school system. Of course, I'm the mayor of Hammond. We have to have a successful school system if we're going to be a successful city. But I'm telling you, until we're given more tools at the local level, government's going to suffer. And people are going to become accustomed to seeing unthinkable. I've been mayor 15 years. I haven't laid off a single police officer. And I'm not saying I'm going to. I've been mayor 15 years, and we've downsized the Hammond Fire Department by 25 firefighters since I've been mayor. We didn't lay off anybody when they retired. We just didn't fill their spot, okay? We absorbed them. We're still providing safe services to the residents of Hammond. But I tell you what, you're going to see cities when you know they're broke. How do you know your city's broke? When they're cutting police and fire, they're at the end of the line. And you're going to see it. And now Dave's question was about schools. They don't have water revenue coming from Illinois. They don't have casino gaming revenue like we have. Their only chance in life with these tax caps kicking in is referendums approved by the taxpayers. And we did it. So we threw them a lifeline. And I hope they use it well, Dave. I'm not in charge of the school city. Are they going to cut schools? They probably have no choice. Is it going to be a high school? I'd imagine we have 4 public high schools in Hammond, plus the Career Center, plus Hacks, plus Bishop Knoll. I think that's too many. But it's not Mayor Tom's decision. I'm not in charge of the school city. If we were in charge of the school city, we'd be making tough decisions like we always have, but we're not. So I hear some people, Mayor, you need to get involved in that issue. I got a tough job, okay? And if I have no influence at all in the debate, I don't. I have no influence other than being a mayor and them respecting me. I can't tell them, close this school, keep this school open, change these boundaries. I have no influence at all. And I do get that. Oh, if you were a good mayor, you'd get involved in this debate. And then you just one thing I've learned in 15 years, you just take the hit and move on. Try not to respond to it. That's one thing I've gotten better at. 34-year-old Tom would have been saying, what are you talking about? So I'm just like, you're right, sir, I'm sorry. Are they going to cut schools? Dave, I don't see how they have any choice. I don't see how. Is it going to be a high school? I don't see how the school city has any choice but to close a high school. Be realistic. If you and your wife had a job, and your wife lost her job, would you cut your budget? Yes. Would you go out to dinner every night? Would you get a new car? No. Would you have to think about getting rid of that vacation home? Of course. We lost half our income, right? And yet they expect government to operate different, right? You get a huge tax break and you cut off all this revenue from the government, you're like, you better keep that school open. It doesn't work that way. That's one thing we didn't understand when we voted for these tax caps. We strangled local government. I'm not saying they were operating in a model of efficiency back then. They probably weren't. But we're starving. Hammond's well funded and Hammond's well financed. I want you to know that. We're going to be fine. We're going to keep on chugging. The Hammond City Council and the mayor have a great working relationship, and we move forward together. And we'll get through this, but somebody's not. I'm not going to sit up here and tell you who I think it is. There's governments that are going to go out of business. There's school systems that are going to go out of business. And I'm telling you why. It's not because they're poorly run. It's because we took all their money. And we expect them to operate the same way they always have. It's just not fair to government. Hammond's fine though. I want you to know that. We're well funded. We're moving forward. So it's a tough decision. So yeah, is Hammond School City going to close schools? Yes, absolutely. They have no choice. Do I have anything to do with it? No. Am I going to tell them which ones to stay open and which ones stay closed? No. Because that's not my job. That's their job. It sucks. It's a tough debate. And I tell you, it's going to be ugly because, there's only 4 public high schools in Hammond realistically. You got Gavitt, a small school, but a great school. You got Clark, a small school, but a great school. You got the new Hammond High. School City made a decision to build there. It's going to be gorgeous and brand new. And you got Morton, the biggest public high school in Hammond. So obviously, if I was the principal of Gavitt or Clark, I'd be concerned, obviously. Tough issue.
Yeah, I didn't mean to get you riled up.
You didn't. It's the truth, Dave. I mean, that's the thing, is, if you lost the job, you would adjust your budget accordingly.
Right. Let's switch gears. A little more miles, then we're going to get to a hot topic.
Oh, okay. We're building it up.
Downtown Hammond,
Yeah.
West Lake Corridor.
Yes, sir.
Any shot of that train ever coming to downtown Hammond so we can do something downtown?
Great question. Yes. We've talked to Ymca about if the train is finally approved. I think we're all waiting for that. Okay. And last time I talked about this, they were shut down. Nobody was approving anything. So now at least they're back to work. And if it's approved, right now there's going to be a station in Hammond, at the Gateway we call it. It's in the North Hammond section, up by the current East Chicago, up by the current Hammond train station. There'll be a station at 173rd Lyman, basically in Hammond. There'll be another station in Munster. At what? 45th, you're talking about? Ridge and Manor, thanks, Kevin. And then the end of the line is going to be at the Munster-Dyer border. So we have talked to Ymca about whether or not we could put a train stop in downtown Hammond. It was not part of the original plans. They said we had no problem with that as long as we don't screw up what's going on currently. We don't want to throw this in there now and cause everything to be delayed and start over again. So we're letting this get approved as is, with the anticipation that there's going to be a stop approximately behind, which is to the east of the federal courthouse in downtown Hammond. And I'm committed to that, and I want to make it work. And I think Ymca's committed to it also. We have Mike Nolan, who I think is great, and I have a real good relationship, and I think Mike's bought into that idea. So they're saying, well, if we plan it out anticipating that this is where you want to put that station, maybe they make it'll be like elevated but flat in that section, and then they'll open up the line, and then once the first day that line opens up, Hammond would come in with plans for that downtown station.
That sounds wonderful.
It has to go according to plan, though. We have to get this project approved, which is very frustrating. We've been talking about this a long time. I'm frustrated. Why hasn't this been approved yet? I don't understand. Why isn't anybody being held accountable? Explain to us. There's governments paying into a fund right now hundreds of thousands of dollars. Hammond's not one of them, because we made a good deal. Council and the mayor working together, we made a really good deal. We said we don't have to pay anything until it's approved by the federal government, and then once it's approved by the federal government, we're all in. We have a pretty big number we have to hit. I think $500,000 a year, $450 a year for 30 years, which is a lot of money. But There's communities right now paying into this escrow account, and they're not getting anything out of it, so I'm frustrated. I don't know what's going on with it, I'm a mayor. I don't know what's going on with it. I wish it was approved. I wish we knew it was happening and we could start moving forward with our plans, but until this whole thing is approved in the Washington DC quagmire, then we're not gonna see any relief.
Okay,
Thank you.
well, let's talk about something that gets you riled up here a little bit.
It doesn't get me riled up, it's just not
Well,
right.
this is something.
I know what you're talking
I
about.
see Dan Need in here.
I know.
How are things in the casino business? And do you foresee any changes in area casinos with recent legislation enabling land-based activity?
Let me tell you the story, okay? Horseshoe Casino and the City of Hammond partnered together in 2007, where Hammond agrees to shut down the Hammond Marina for a full year and piss off every boater, 900 plus people that had slips in the Hammond Marina, and said, sorry, you can't come in 2007, we're gonna be under construction, building a new Horseshoe Casino boat that could never leave because it's too big. But we had to assemble it in there because it was so big. Without Hammond and Horseshoe agreeing to shut down the marina for a year, and Horseshoe agreeing to spend $385 million developing this project, we don't have the monster, beautiful entertainment venue that we have right now, the great casino that we have. We have nothing. We have the small riverboat that was 2 packs. So we work together. Horseshoe invests close to $400 million in the project, and then, of course, they lead the whole state of Indiana with gaming revenues in Horseshoe Hammond. All right? I'm going to talk about Ameristar, who is great. They just got done doing, I think it's a $25 million renovation of their casino. They followed Indiana law that said if you want to gamble on land, as long as you do it on your footprint, it's legal. So Ameristar doesn't try to change the law. They say, okay, I'm going to put $25 million in our facility, and we're going to change the footprint. We're going to gamble on the land, on our footprint. It's totally legal. And they're doing well, by the way. They just did it. It looks beautiful. They got increased gambling revenue. They're doing well. A couple years ago, Blue Chip in Michigan City said, you know what? I like this. I'm going to build a beautiful hotel tower spa. We're going to put close to $100 million into this because we want to lure people to Michigan City to gamble. So all these casinos that follow the law and improve their boat, and they do what they can to attract gamblers to their boat, do what we ask them to in Indiana. Okay? And then you have another operator that has put nothing into their boat. Nothing. And they haven't tried to improve the facility. It's basically the same as it was when it was built in 1993. And they can't understand why nobody wants to gamble here. We are constantly behind. We have 2 riverboat licenses here, and we just can't compete with the Ameristars and the Horseshoes and the Majestic Stars of the world. So we want to blow up the way we do business in Indiana, and we want to relocate where we can take more of their business. It's not right. We're punishing industries that did what we asked them to. Dan Need to spend not Dan himself, okay? I bet you wish he did. Horseshoe Casino, Caesars Entertainment invested $400 million in the city of Hammond. The Ameristars owners invested $25 million over there. Michigan City, how about this? If we're allowed to just change the location of where people gamble, Horseshoe Southern Indiana has a boat in Evansville. All right? To get there, you'd have to take 65 south for us. And when you get off, what highway is that goes west? 111, thank you. You get off 65 in New Albany and go west for what, Dan? 15 minutes? 15 minutes and you're at Dan's Hotel. Wait a second now. If I see what the city of Gary wants to do with their licenses and change locations and cut off traffic, why don't I go buy the worst performing boat in Indiana and I'll say, no, I don't want it over here in Lawrenceburg. I want to put it in New Albany. I can get this license super cheap, and I'll locate it over here, and I'm going to put it right there in 111 in New Albany, and I'm going to cut off all that traffic that was used to go to Horseshoe Southern Indiana. Now they'll go to my boat. And then Caesar's going to say, wait a second. We just put $100 million into our boat, and you changed the rules on us and cut off all the traffic. How are we going to recoup our investment? That's what we're talking about. This isn't about Hammond. It's about Hammond to me. But this is bigger than Hammond. This is about what would ever give Caesars or anybody else a reason to invest in Indiana again if we're just going to screw them and change the rules like that? I feel strongly about this. We're going to kill our gaming industry if we start doing this kind of thing. And it's been good to our state. And we're going to kill it. Why? Because Gary says they have a deep river port. Let's be honest. We got a deep river port. We're going to put a deep river port here. And there's going to be all this business and jobs created and everything's great. Who's coming? We don't know. How much is it going to cost to build a deep river port at Buffington Harbor? No idea. I know, Marlon, when you built a new break wall for your shallow marina, how much did that cost when we built that?
The entire marina?
Yeah.
Back then, about 40-some million.
And that was when?
Where's your dad?
22 million in what, 1985-ish? 89. Nonetheless, 22 million in 89. To build a deeper report, it's got to be $100 million, $150 million. How are we going to pay for that? Is Gary going to pay for that? Is our RDA going to pay for that? Is the state of Indiana going to pay for that? Are we going to pay for that? Is there going to be some new tax created to pay for that? Nobody's talking about this. That's the thing. All they're saying is, oh yeah, let's move it. Screw the casino. Let's just change everything. I am fighting tooth and nail on this. And I know I'm not alone. There's a lot of people that are extremely worried about the way we do business in Indiana being just willy-nilly changed. So I'm obviously, fighting for my city. And the funny thing is, a lot of people say, you care about Hammond, Mayor. That's all you care about. If you were ever anything else, you would probably screw everybody just to benefit Hammond. I do love Hammond. Okay, if I ever get a tattoo, Hammond will probably be part of that tattoo somehow. Okay, but I want you to know this. This is bigger than Hammond. This is about doing what's right for people to invest in our city. And the owner of Majestic Star, they got to be so pleased. They've done really very little to their facility, and they're going to get relocated to an area where they can steal from Ameristar. Ameristar's going to be the big loser if this is allowed to happen. Who's going to drive north on Klein Avenue to gamble anymore if we cut off the traffic? It's a big deal. I don't like doing this. I don't like talking about this stuff. I don't. Because it shouldn't even be talked about. We should just reward people that do well for us. Oh, Michigan City, great job. That's $100 million in our state, great job. We're going to do everything we can as a state to make sure you're successful. Horseshoe, $385 million, thank you very much. I'm going to do everything I can as your mayor, as your governor, as your senator, whatever, to make sure you guys are successful. That's the way we should be doing it. And to the people that aren't helping themselves, we're not. You have done so poorly that we're going to screw everybody else to benefit you. It just doesn't make sense. It just doesn't make sense. And then Senator Melton, who I like, floats a bill that says, okay, Gary's second license, we should be able to move this license, and then we'll take that second license, and it can't relocate anywhere near 100 miles near Gary. It's a very frustrating situation. I find myself during this time of year spending a lot of time in Indianapolis, fighting for what's right. And in this case, I think that this is a crazy idea, and I'm doing everything I can to fight it. And I know I have the support of the city council. I know I have the support of the business community. I'm consulting regularly with the casino industry and leaders across the state of Indiana about this. So, but it's scary. So,
All you got, Mayor.
what's that?
All you got.
Really? That was a nice way to end it. We're screwed. Have a nice day.
No, I have one more.
Oh, okay.
What are you and Spiro planning?
By the way,
What are you and Spiro
I
planning?
was just talking to Patrick. He said he does not want to be mayor anymore. So,
What are you and Spiro planning on 89 for?
Spiro and I are working together on a big project that will not cost taxpayers. It's a great idea. It's a great idea. Spiro's approached me. By the way, we're not best friends, Spiro's and I, but we're making a deal on this, and I think it's a good idea that we relocate the convention center in Highland, and I'm all in. I am all in because it makes total sense, and it's really, the benefits are primarily going to be in the town of Highland if this plan is approved. And Spiro's is spearheading it, and the town of Highland's excited about this, and Mayor Hammond's excited about this, and it's using legislation, state legislation that was created when my dad was mayor, and it's never been used. And we're going to try to tap into this and make it special. But we're going to need the legislature to approve it, but we could do it without passing a countywide tax, which is a non-starter. When they walked in, I said, hey, great idea. Food and beverage tax cannot be part of it. They said, nope, food and beverage tax is not part of it. So it's an interesting concept. So hopefully you'll be hearing more about this as it scoots down the line. But I just want to say thank you to everybody that came out in sub-zero weather. I want to say thank you to my residents. I want to say thank you to the residents of Hammond. At this point, I mean, I've never had an uncontested race. And at this point, I have nobody running against me, which makes me happy. It makes me feel like if I was a big jerk and I was doing a bad job, I'd probably have 5 people trying to take my job. But right now, I hope I'm lucky and blessed enough to serve 4 more years as your mayor and to keep doing this great event with Dave, which is literally one of my favorite events to do every year. I want to say thank you to my family in particular for coming out and supporting me. And I think I forgot to introduce Hammond City Clerk Robert Golick earlier. It was nice to see you, Clerk Golick. Thank you guys very much. Be careful driving home. And by the way, a lot of people complain and they say you guys aren't throwing salt today. I threw salt and it doesn't melt the ice when it gets below a certain temperature, so this is a perfect example. Take a picture of it, right? So thanks guys, have a nice evening.
Great job, Eric. Thank you very much. Thank all of you for coming out on a day like this. We kind of went back and forth about having this today, and we thought, we're a region man, we're tough. I want to thank our BP sponsors, Dipfield sponsors, I-Corn sponsors, American Fixation Services, First Midwest Bank. Have anybody mind? Thank you all for coming. We'll see you next time.